In this video, we're going to start to rebuild this dormer to last 100 years. You see, 15 years ago, I repainted my house, and although it came out really nice, it's time to repaint again. But there's also some bigger issues under the surface. The Tyvek is being eaten away by the cedar siding, my windows have failed, and some of the wood is starting to rot. So it's out with the old and in with the new. So in the future, we can spend our free time doing things that are more important. To work safely on our project, I set up pump jack scaffolding. And at the top of the screen, I'll put a link if you want to go to the video. I went all through it, all the ins and outs of setting it up safely. Demo's what you see, slow and steady. You can see the Tyvek over the years. The Tyvek's fallen apart. My house was built in the 80s, and some of this early versions of Tyvek, it didn't hold up well to cedar siding. It was basically falling apart. Also, the seams weren't taped, and that allowed cold air and bugs to enter the house.
All right, we took the last row off.
Another issue we found is the flashing details. The Tyvek should be on top of the flashing and also taped. The way this is here, you basically have your raincoat tucked into your pants. It will allow water to leak into the house. To work safely on the side of the dormer, it's a steep pitch, so I'm installing some roof jacks, and then I'm butting the ladder up next to that, and then I'll be working off the ladder. I'm also removing the old fascia and soffit, and this was a lot of extra work, but I had areas of carpenter bees and also some areas of rot, so I thought it best to start fresh. All right, let's talk about where we're at so far. So we just have step flashing all up and down the dormer here, and there might be a little evidence of water, but you know, there's no rot or anything, and so the step flashing's doing its job, but we're gonna go a little bit further. I have something called counter flashing, and I'm gonna put the counter flashing, I'm gonna put that on over there, then I'm gonna put the Tyvek on top of this, and it'll be nice and waterproof. We gotta plug this up so no critters get in there, and we're gonna keep going. Ha! What a loser. So with this counter flashing installed, now it's time to put the raincoat or the Tyvek over everything. And I installed the Tyvek with roofing nails. You can use those cap nails, but they get in the way of the siding. I never use them. So we have our Tyvek. All the seams are taped. And as we come down, we have tape that laps on to the step flashing. Now, I use zip tape because I think it does a really nice job of sticking to different materials, but you could also use Tyvek tape. And so we have our step flashing, and then we have our other little piece of counter flashing here. So this is a really robust system for keeping water out. And if we work our way up, this is an excellent spot for critters and squirrels to get into, this little intersection of the roof. So I put a piece of blocking there, and I just have some J-channel, and then the soffit's gonna run right into that. So that blocking is really important. It does a really good job of keeping unwanted guests out of your attic. I'm installing blocking for our new fascia board, and I measured the blocking so that the fascia is going to be in the same spot as the old board. And to find that angle, I just used a little bevel finder, and then I transcribed it onto our 2x6.
Hey, all right, something like that.
To make sure our 2x6 doesn't rot, because it is close to the roof and there will be a lot of moisture there, we're going to wrap it with flashing tape or zip tape. And we just install this with some framing nails. And to make sure that the soffit is nice and straight, I use a string line. This isn't that far of a run. You can kind of eyeball something like this as well. With the help of the string line, we can see that the soffit is off just a hair. And with the slightest kiss of the hammer, we can fix it. As we turn the corner of the dormer, I'm just making sure that our new soffit is nice and level. If this remodel is truly going to last 100 years, we have to get a few details right. Number one is the Tyvek, and number two is the flashing. Let's talk about the Tyvek first. While standing in the rain, this nerd is demonstrating one of the cool properties of Tyvek. It's waterproof, but it also prevents air from entering your house. It's important that the seams are overlapped and taped for it to work properly. The cool thing is if water does get into your wall assembly, it's breathable and it'll allow your wall to dry. Well, we also bent up this cool detail for the corners, and let's take a closer look and I'll show you how I bend it up. I do not have a metal brake, so we're going to bend this without a brake, and I'll show you how I get by. I just have a piece of plywood with a 45 on it, and that just helps make nice bends. Now, the tricky part is the roof pitch. From here, we measure the roof pitch. I have a 12-12 pitch, so that's 45 degrees. We're going to cut all the way to here. We're going to stop here. We're not going to go all the way through. We want to leave this little guy. Now we need to follow that line down. I want to say too, I learned this from the Fine Home Building magazine. If you want to learn how to do things that are involved or learn about building or building science, you got to check out Fine Home Building. So thanks to them. This piece is made with a 12x12 piece of flashing, and this is with a 6x6 piece of flashing. All the small bends you see me making, they're just 3/4 of an inch. And then once you have them bent up, you join the two together. And for install, I use a rivet, and then I also use flashing tape on the back. The real one I use is with a little bit thicker flashing. This is real flimsy. Yeah, this is a nice thick piece with a flashing tape on the back. Here's a look at the corner flashing installed, also with the apron flashing. That apron does a good job of tying that wall and that roof line together. And here's another point. I didn't want to put that nice apron flashing on over old, nasty shingles. My roof is going to be due in a few years for shingles, and I didn't want to hurt that flashing. So in this small area, I ripped off all the shingles, and I redid it, and then I installed the apron flashing. To hold down the apron flashing to the roof, I always think it looks terrible when people face nail that area. These are just 1/2 inch wide strips of flashing. And you saw that I nailed them onto the roof. And then once the apron flashing is on, you just fold them over. Here's a look at us installing the corner flashing. And this is a really robust way to keep water out. I think this thing works great. And I'm integrating it in with the new shingles and also the step flashing. You'll notice that I did install an extra piece of step flashing. You can see it right here. And I think this just helps kick the water out past this corner. And I did cut it low so that when our corner piece goes on, our vinyl corner piece, it sits nice and low. Hey, listen, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can follow along. We got some new windows to install. We got to talk about some details with the new vinyl siding, and we'll walk you through it. See you on the next one.